Actually, that's a pretty funny story. That came about by my agent at the time at CAA calling up and saying, because I was a screenwriter. I was never been out of work. And she said, "Do you want to do television?" I said, "Great, thanks." She said, "It's Hill Street." I said, "Oh, it's my favorite show." So I wrote a script, and David Milch called literally I dropped it off before I got home. Said, "This is great, blah." I said, "That's really nice." And then my agent called, and he said, "Yeah, they liked it so much." She said, "They liked it so much they want you to go on staff." My oldest daughter was a year old at the time. I had an office at home on the second floor in this little tower, and I was on the speakerphone. And my wife was carrying Olivia around, and as a screenwriter, you just watch your bank balance go down, then you get another job, it goes back up. It's like a thermometer. And my agent, she said, "They want you to go on staff." I said, "I don't want to do that. I got out of advertising, so I didn't have to go into an office every day. That's not what I'm here to do." And I said, "But I'll be happy to write, two or three scripts this season." And said, "Dick, let me explain something to you." This was on the speakerphone. She said, "If you go on staff, they pay you a weekly salary, thousands of dollars a week, and then they pay you to write the scripts on top of that." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, they pay you salary, and then they pay you to write the scripts too." I said, "That's insane. How long has this been going on?" She said, "That's why people go into television." My wife walked across and leaned down and said, "He'll be there Monday." That's how I got into the television business. Hill Street was really, and I've known Stephen Bochco since I was 5 years old, which is a little known fact. No, his parents and my parents were very close friends growing up. So Stephen, who's much older than I am, uh, was somebody who used to torture me as a child. But no, Hill Street was
Didn't you?
really a
Did,
breakthrough show. Hill Street was a true break the mold type of show. I mean, it's strange that the history of television is the history of Me Tooism. That a new show goes out and then that becomes the blueprint for X number of clones, none of which ever work. It's unbelievable. Um, Hill Street, however, did set a paradigm for a certain type of multi character, multi storyline ensemble storytelling, which had never been done. And as a result, it was a disaster the first year. It was, I believe, still the lowest rated comparatively show ever reordered by NBC. Um, then it won whatever it was, 12 Emmys the first year, and people went, "Oh, that was a good move." Uh, I got to the show, strangely enough, the year after Stephen left. There was a big falling out, I guess, after the fifth season at MTM. David Milch and Jeffrey Lewis were running the show. That's when I came on. I was there just for the one season, and then I came over and ran Miami Vice for 2 years, which nobody could figure out why I'd done that, but it was, I thought, a very smart decision. It was shot over at what was then called CBS Radford, which are the studios at Ventura, just right at Ventura and Laurel Canyon, just a block east of Laurel Canyon. Um, and it was MTM in the 80s, which was the best place. It was the Harvard Business School of Television. I mean, the building where the Hill Street Blues writers were in the St. Elsewhere was on the first floor, Hill Street was on the second floor. Right now, my oldest friend in the business, two of them, one is Waylon Green, who's running Dragnet, who's still here, who wrote The Wild Bunch. The other is Tom Fontana, who was on St. Elsewhere, and we're, the only guys left shooting in New York, basically. We've known each other for years. It's a very, very, it was a very, very collegial place. It was very smart people. And I think that the writer's room worked in a very specific way. That the stories were basically the way Hill Street was set up. If you ever look at the credits, that people would get like one solo script a year, which you'd write alone, usually during hiatus, and then the stories were broken in tandem, and there was basically the credits did not really necessarily reflect the work on that particular script, but there was a rollover. You get a half story credit on script 2, then you'd get a half teleplay credit on script 4, then you'd get a half story, half teleplay on script 6. It would go so that all the writers were basically ending up with the same number of credits at the end of the season because everybody was supposedly contributing the same amount. And I think the thing that sort of puts the Hill Street Writers' Room in perspective was David Milch, who was one of the executive producers with Jeff Lewis. David is always late and came in one morning, and Marty Ferraro, who was a continuing character on Hill Street who played all those different crazies. He's the guy eaten by the Tyrannosaurus, the T-Rex in Jurassic Park, the lawyer. And I was pitching this story. Rambo was in the theaters. And I pitched this story of Marty Ferraro as Rambo, thinking that he was Rambo and had been in Vietnam. And I'm pitching this, and people are thinking, yeah, that could be funny. And David Milch comes in and sort of stands against the door jamb late and is listening to this. And Jeff Lewis says, what do you think? Marty Ferraro is Rambo. And David Milch says, Jesus, who thought of this? He said, Dick did. He said, you know, everybody's here is smart. Everybody went to really good schools. Everybody's really well read. Who do you think is going to want to watch an episode about a dead French poet? You couldn't get that literary reference in most rooms, and he was dead serious. I mean, David operated they're going, no, the movie in the theater. What movie? What the hell are you talking about? It was the #1 movie for a month, but it was a dead French poet.